and thank you for joining us today. My name is Eyal Orgil. I'm the CRO at DealHub, and today we're going to be looking at DealHub's new and expanded CLM capabilities and contract repository. During today's session, we're going to look in a few minutes at the DealHub's CLM capabilities, just an overview of that. Then we're going to look at some examples of how to actually go create contracts and do some redlining with DealHub. We'll take a look at DealHub's contract repository AI analysis, what capabilities you'll have there. We'll have a QA session at the end, and then I'll talk about an early bird promotion that we're going to make available for you. I do have the question and answers box opened up. It's kind of difficult sometimes to see the questions in real time as you're asking them. Please do log your questions if you have any, and I will do my best if I can answer it while we are going through the webinar. Otherwise, we'll look at it at the end, and any questions that we do not answer, we'll make sure to follow up with you after the webinar. So a little bit about DealHub's capabilities. When we look at DealHub CLM capabilities, we look at, say, basically 4 different stages of that. And that first stage is how to prepare the contract. And this is more on the admin side. This is where we'll go prepare our templates, various kinds of contracts that we want to have available for us. Now, when we're looking at CLM, for those that are familiar with DealHub, if you're building out quotes, we can do a contract with a quote, or we can simply do a contract on its own. Either way, you're going to go and set up those templates. Those templates may be part of a quote, maybe a separate MSA, NDA, EULA, whatever type of agreement you have. What you can also do on the admin side is set up a clause library. And we're going to be looking at this when we see the examples in the demo that we'll be running. Basically, what we don't want is salespeople going and doing free text changes or other people that are making contracts. You want to put some guardrails around what they're allowed to select. And for that, you'll basically build out a clause library where a salesperson can make selections to changes, and those changes will then come from the predefined text that you've approved. So initially starting as an admin side, what we're able to do is we're able to go and prepare that contract. When we're in the process of preparing our quote and our contract, then basically what's going to happen is a salesperson is going to walk through what DealHub refers to as a playbook. And again, those familiar with the guided process that we offer our playbook, a series of questions that are going to take the salesperson through building out whatever they need to do, if it is a quote or a contract or any of the capabilities, options that they need to select. As we go through the playbook and answer the questions, and if there's changes that need to be made to the contract, those are automatically going to be populated. For example, if I'm selling in certain countries, I may need certain clauses that need to be populated. Selling over a certain size of a system or other logic information we brought in from the CRM that tells us something about the customer or where we're selling to. So those terms can automatically be populated based off of inputs that come from the CRM or inputs that the salesperson has provided as they're walking through the playbook. As we said, when the salesperson is going through, they're going to be able to make changes, make selections, and those are going to come from pre-approved changes that they have. So based off of selections in the playbook, the contractual terms may change. Where we need to go beyond that ability of letting the salesperson select their own contracts is we have the ability to go and bring in the collaboration with our legal team, or contracts team. So basically, we can have role access rights to different people within the organization. We're going to actually ask them to come in and collaborate with us, and we'll give them access rights, more changes that they can go and make to the contract. Actually, the next step then, what we're going to do is generate the contract itself. That could come from different templates. We could have different templates for different countries, obviously for different languages. Those templates could be fixed, or those templates can also be dynamic, meaning we're going to have the content change as we go through the process of building it out, depending again on maybe per region. We have slight changes in the contract based off of the region we're selling to. So it's one contract, it's dynamic, it's going to change certain things just based off of that. So there's different ways we can set up the contracts and the templates. And that's something as we're building this out together with our customer success team, you can work with them and you can see what's best for you to have fixed templates, or if you want templates that are dynamic, and just a matter of managing it later on. When we come to the point of negotiating in our contract, that's when we're going to go have the ability to do redlining. And redlining support with DealHub basically allows the user, the end customer, the buyer to go and download the contract, and we'll be able to download that in a Word version. What we're going to do, though, is make that Word version editable in the sense that you're going to have certain areas that you're going to lock off. Obviously, you don't want a customer maybe going in and changing the pricing or certain things when you're giving an overview of the solution, but there will be areas of the contract that you'll want them to be able to go and change. So that template of the Word version of the contract, when it's downloaded, you'll have areas that can be edited and areas that are going to be locked. And again, we'll be looking through these things in a few minutes as we go through the demo. Once we've typically in a situation of redlining, they're going to download that Word document. What we find in most cases is legal teams like to go back and forth through email messages or sending the Word document. That's the traditional method of work. Sometimes it's things that people are doing for tens of years. They don't want to change that. That's fine then. They can go do the Word revisions back and forth. We're going to have the ability to upload that back in, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And of course, we have the ability to also, before we sign off on a contract, even add additional elements that we want in that contract. So we can append additional documents as well. So we can change the original contract. We also have the ability to append, and then you can go and e-sign that as one complete document. DealHub supports today its own native e-signature integration, e-signature, and we also have integration to DocuSign as well. That could be single and multiple signers. One other unique capability DealHub offers is the ability to have dynamic signers, meaning we've sent it out for signature, we realize, or the customers come back and said they need another person to sign off on that agreement. We can actually dynamically add another signer and their signature will go onto that document. So a unique capability that we have there. Contract repository. This is what we're going to be talking about as well today. We're going to be looking at what that's going to look like. This is coming out at the end of December. So by January 1st, this is going to be available. And the capabilities that you'll have with the contract repository, obviously the ability to store contracts and to view contracts. So you're able to look at all kinds of different contracts that you have for the account or the opportunity that you're working on. And you will be able to upload other contracts as well. So not only the contracts and quotes that are generated by DealHub, you will have the ability to use that as a general repository and upload additional contracts into the repository. You'll be able to manage the contracts that are in the process of redlining. We're going to see this in the example that will show how that will work. You're also able to go compare contract versions. So obviously, if you're a legal or you're somebody, a contract person managing the process, you'll have a dashboard. You can see all the contracts you're working on and contracts that are in the process. Before you send that off for e-signature, you're going to want to have the ability to compare to the original version or the last versions, make sure you're happy with that version of the contract. Then you can basically check it off or approve it for the signature, and only then will the e-signature process actually be enabled. So until that point, it can be blocked off. And then once you're happy with it, set off that e-signature, activate it, and then the customer and the buyer, and obviously your side, the seller, can go and sign off on that agreement. And we'll also look at what capabilities for AI we're going to be incorporating. Those will come shortly after in the new year. So we'll talk about the AI analysis and insights as well that will be available. I'm going to jump over now to look at some demonstrations. So whether you're working out of Salesforce, you're going to have a button here. Those that are familiar with Salesforce, today our button right now says create quote. You can obviously modify that to say create quote or create contract or create quotes and contract. If you're more of a HubSpot team, then you're going to have the ability to have those buttons as well, which of course, as I'm doing my live demo, just disappeared on me. So we'll just stick with these buttons over here. We're going to go into it, same idea when you're in a HubSpot environment. Clicking on that button is going to take you into the DealHub environment. And I want to actually show a couple different types of use cases now of what can happen in DealHub. Remember, DealHub is run off of a playbook. A playbook is going to guide you through a process. I'm going to start off with an initial playbook that's going to simply build a contract. And then we'll take a look at a playbook that's going to have a quote and a contract together to show you the different use cases that you could have as you're building these out. So we're in a playbook that's specifically for a legal agreement. We've come in. Now, just as a note, it's very possible, we've had customers that work this way, that when you first come into DealHub, the first thing you're going to do is maybe send out a non-disclosure agreement because you're not yet in a situation where you can send out a quote. We can have that whole process I'm going to show you now go through, have an NDA signed off, sync back to the CRM. And that's going to trigger a validation to let you now come into DealHub, which is the second step we'll show to actually build out a contract. So we can actually work very closely together with the CRM, with your flows or your processes that you have in the CRM. So you can initially go in, maybe sign off something like an NDA, which we'll demonstrate in a moment, and then later on come in and actually build out a quote. So I'm asking the salesperson here in our playbook one question: what type of agreement do you need? And we talked about an NDA, so let's start off with an NDA. And then it's asking me for some details over here. Let's give me the options to pick what kind of NDA that I want. Let's just assume as a salesperson, I can just pick a standard NDA. I might be given the option to go and make some selections. So for example, what's the effective date? Let's make it for this Friday here, the 27th. Now, a few more questions that I have over here. More than likely, I'm not going to have the salesperson select these. I've actually included them in the playbook because I want to show as I change these, they're going to have an effect on the document, that the contract that actually gets generated. Now, where I could read this information from is obviously from the CRM. So if I know what entity I'm in, that'll automatically be read in. Let's just go with maybe with LLC, we would have read that in. Where it's relevant, maybe you do have the ability to change that, but that could have also been triggered automatically by the region. So I know if I'm selling in a certain region, I'm Inc., LLC, GmbH, whatever that happens to be. I've read in the date from the CRM. I've read in the relevant country that we're in. Now, again, I've given the option over here to change that. We'll make a change in a moment and show it. But down below, I've already got a preview of my agreement. So I can see there's the date that I set. Obviously, there's our company, the laws of the United States, which is what we have up above. And if we go down to the bottom, we can see we're according to the laws of the United States, and we're the LLC entity. Let's go up and just make a change, and you'll see how that's going to change. So for example, if we were in Germany, and we'll come back to our document over here. So we can see that's automatically changed to Germany. And just to show you, we could allow a lot of flexibility over here. Let's go by the governing laws. We're in the UK now. It's a company incorporated in the UK, but if we come down to the bottom, we'll see we're under the laws of Germany. So a lot of flexibility. So that's the preview that I have now. Obviously, what's going to get sent to a customer is a document or a deal room. So quickly, let's generate a PDF document. DealHub is now dynamically going and generating that document, and it's ready for me to view. So let's open that up. And here's our document that's coming up just now. And again, similar to what we saw in the preview, here we are, company incorporated in the UK, and we have under the laws of Germany, and basically the same document that we just saw a moment ago. Now, if we want to send that out for an e-signature process, let's just preview the deal room that could be sent out to the customer. So DealHub is now generating that deal room. For those that aren't familiar with the deal room is basically the ability to send out a link to a customer. It's a website that's for the specific content that we're sharing and engaging with the customer. So the customer or our buyer has now opened this up. Again, we can see that we have the agreement over here set up, and we have the ability to go sign off on the agreement. This is just our e-signature. Obviously, we could be using a DocuSign environment, which would sign it through a DocuSign. So once this is signed, this agreement is going to sync back. It's going to go back into the opportunity, the deal that we have. And if it needs to trigger anything to say that it's been signed off, like I said, it could go to another flow, and we're going to go through that process. Now, I want to take a step back and just show where we can do a little more engagement with our legal team. Let's assume that this was simple, salesperson just answering a couple questions. We could send out an NDA, but what if we needed to customize that agreement a little bit more? So I would have made it available for another team member to go and make a change. First of all, what I would do is let me just save a draft, my draft here. We have a chat capability built right into DealHub, something we call Deal Talk. And what I would simply go and do is go find my legal contact, which is Chris over here. Can you please make a change to section 1 as discussed? Or I would have, obviously, we're in a chat here, so I could have explained exactly what I needed. Chris will get an email message or a Slack message, or he happens to be online, he'll get it right within his DealHub environment. And Chris will be able to come in, and he may have the option to change to a customized version. And why do I want a customized version? Because now Chris has the ability to go make text changes directly in the agreement over here. So we might want to change this word to but and put another space, and we're going to call it 1A. And we'll have another section over there. And if we just jump down to our preview, we can see that there's section 1 and there's section 1A. And as we showed a moment ago, we could generate a document, or we could generate a deal room, and we'll have that document ready. So I have the ability to go and give salespeople guardrails until things that they're allowed to go and do and generate a contract, or at any time if I need to work with a contracts team, a legal team, I can actually collaborate with them, send off a chat message to them through the Deal Talk, let them come in, make the change. They'll make the change, they'll hand it back to me, and then I'll be able to obviously send out, as the seller, I can send out that agreement to the customer with the changes that they've made. And obviously as a salesperson, I can't edit what they've done. I'll simply be able to view those changes, and they're ready to go for the customer over here. So that is an example of simply setting up a contract within DealHub using a playbook that is specific for a contract situation. Let's go take a look at another example now. This is a typical example where a salesperson is building out a proposal. I'm now in a playbook that's designed for proposals. And I'm going to quickly just add in a few products over here just so we can quickly get to the contractual side of things. So I'm going to pick a certain kind of solution over here and just add in some users and a duration. I've set up my playbook that I have a mandatory question for my salesperson. This is obviously at any time for a contract or a quote. So let me just complete that. I've got some quote lines over here. Great, my quote will be ready to go. I want to jump down to the playbook section here that I've set up for the contract changes. Now, I'm actually going to do some commercial term changes and some legal changes as well, showing you again what the salesperson can do or working together, collaborating with another team member. So first of all, more on the commercial side of things, I'm going to change the payment terms. Not something that we typically want a salesperson to do without some sort of governance. And I will have notified the salesperson through the tooltip here that any changes you make will require finance, or it could be legal or contracts, deal desk, whoever we need to approve that. And if I slide down to the bottom of the page, we basically see we have an approval process here. I actually have a two-step approval where, again, could be a deal desk or legal, where I got one of Dave or Ellen, or maybe both need to approve it. And then it will go off to Mark to approve. So any changes that I allow a salesperson to make, I can put some guardrails around that. I didn't show it in the previous contract that I built, but obviously I could have done that as well. At any time, we can put approval processes, basically triggering off of any inputs that'll be provided by the salesperson building out the proposal. Jumping back up to our contract section up above, I want to go and modify some of the terms. And I've got some pre-approved terms that I can do or make some changes to. So in a software environment, if that's the kind of company I am, oftentimes what customers want is to remove the automatic renewal. And let me say, for example, change the yearly increase. Now, the fact that I pop these up doesn't have to be that it always pops up. I could have a series of different contractual terms that can be popped up basically and triggered or flagged to say I want to include them or not include them. So in certain cases, maybe I don't allow the salesperson to go and change the automatic renewal. And based off of deals of a different size, maybe I would. So we have various different elements here or different terms that I could have allowed to be turned on and off based off of certain conditions, where I'm selling to or what I'm actually selling. Let's look at it a little deeper as well in terms of, I'm going to go allow to do an MSA. And let's just quickly jump to the pre-approved changes. I just wanted to show the ability that I can actually provide more information to the salesperson as well. So for my MSA, I've allowed 3 sections that can be edited over here. And again, those could have been other sections allowed at other times. Under these conditions that I'm quoting, this is what's valid. So for section 5.4, use of the logo, I'm going to go require the customer consent. To know what's going to be written, I put in the tooltip right here so we can see the original clause, the standard clause, and the clause that will be replaced with the underline there if I make that selection, if I basically come over and make this selection. The same thing, let's make a couple more changes, and we'll be able to see our agreement as well with the changes. So again, you can decide which of the different kinds of clauses that can be toggled on and off, what selections they can make, and that's actually going to come out in our document as well. So at this point, actually, let me go preview that again. This time it's the contract or the quote that we've generated along with the contractual terms. So this is actually a dynamic template. So it's going to be the same template that I'm using, but it's going to change the contractual terms based off the inputs that I just provided. So we'll give it a moment just to generate over here. This also gives you an idea of the kinds of documents that we can generate. DealHub has a lot of ability to generate all kinds of different contracts and different documents. So our document is now ready. Let's open it up. In this case, this is a proposal that is a much more detailed proposal. So I've put a cover page on it. So there's the name of my customer and the date and an image. And I've got a cover letter that was automatically set up. And obviously solution information, the pricing the quote that I just generated for the customer, some more pricing information. And now I've got my contractual terms over here, my commercial terms, and we can see the selections that I made. I've actually bolded it just for the purposes of the demonstration here. So the no automatic renewal, 6% increase, 60-day payment terms, that's what I needed the approval process on, that was included. And because I made changes to the MSA, that was actually included automatically into my document. And if I slide down to the bottom over here, or a few pages down, there's upon your review and written consent. That was the use of the logo. That was one of the terms that I changed. And I had a couple other changes that I made. So we'll automatically renew in 36 months, 60 days for the portability. So just as an example, it could be a word sentence, a paragraph, or even a complete page if you need it, or obviously clauses that could change based off of me having gone and made these selections. So if I were to go back and make a change now, that will automatically reflect in the contract changes that we just set up. Obviously, if I put this out in a deal room, so same idea, in a deal room, we could have our MSA available. This is just another one I pre-prepared just so we'll have a bit more time. We won't have as much time waiting, but same idea. We can actually, I did do it with the pre-approved. There we go. So we can see that just again, just highlighted for the purposes to go and demonstrate this. So that can go out as a deal room. Just another note on a deal room as well, when we're sharing a deal room, We can put a lot of different information into it. And one of the things that can also happen while we're building out or working together with a customer through a deal room, which is basically an engagement environment. So we're almost sitting around a virtual conference table. We may want to be sharing additional documents with the customer. It could be security documents or technical documents that we need. Those can be dropped into what we call Deal Box, which you see here. So basically, we can drag and drop additional documents. This could be the customer, the buyer, putting in documents for the seller to see, or the seller for the buyer to see. And later on, this is important because when we look at our contract repository, we can actually take documents from here as well and put it into our repository. So if we had additional documents that we shared between the two sides, we'll be able to keep those documents as well later on. One other thing for those that aren't familiar, when we're filling out before the e-signature, we have the ability to have online forms as well. So the customer can enter information over here, the buyer, billing information or shipping if we're in an industry that requires that. The information provided here can also go into our document. So go right into our agreement, and we can actually capture the information from these online forms, and we can actually pass that information directly back into the CRM, and we can set up fields for doing that. So we actually can capture structured data of what the customer provided from the online form. We'll go onto the document, preload onto the document when we're going to sign it, and we'll also sync that information back into our CRM. So we'll have that information captured for us. So that's the ability to go and do generate a document, take a look at the document, have it ready. I next want to dive over to a section. We're going to talk about some redlining now. So I'm actually going to switch over to a different deal room over here that's been set up for the redlining, and basically a similar type of document that we saw a moment ago. We're in a redlining situation. We're going to have the ability to take a look at different revisions that we're working on. And so right at the bottom over here, we have the ability to pop into revisions, and we can see in this situation, I'm already a bit through the process. I've got the originally generated document that I had set up, and I've also gone one and set up one revision that we've uploaded back into Deal Room. Now, it may be that we want to upload each revision. This is basically flexible. You can decide if the legal or the two legal teams are going to go back and forth, and then only at the end of the process are we going to upload that, or they may want to upload the revisions as they're going through the process. So all I would need to do if I wanted to edit a revision is to simply download a copy of that. That's going to now download onto my desktop. We'll give it a second to download. And I want to show what we can do. I talked about some guardrails before when we're editing that document. So we'll be able to see an actual Word document that will populate. Of course, on a live demo, it slows down a little bit. Let's just save that and let's open it up. And we'll open up there's our Word document that's just opened up. And basically, it looks like our agreement before. What I've done, though, is gone and locked certain areas. I'm actually trying to type. I wish you could see my fingers here. I'm trying to type. This is actually locked because this is an area that I don't want someone to edit. Obviously, my cover letter, or obviously things like my pricing as well. I'm going to lock that off so that they can't change that. But where I do want them to make some changes is down in the terms and conditions that we saw before. So maybe I'm going to allow them to add a new term. Or what we could also do is have it structured right down to individual numbers if we want, or words. So for example, the annual subscription will not increase more than 4%. I've actually, if I'm clicking on that 4, as you notice, only one number is available there. I'm going to let them go and change that maybe to 7%. I don't know why they would want to raise it, but let's assume that. Or they want 120-day payment terms. Or if we want, instead of quarterly, they want monthly. Again, decision to go and do that. And we'll actually be able to capture those individual changes. So we'll be able to see changes that were made on the overall contract, like the term that I added, or the individual areas that I indicated, like the increase or the payment days or payment schedule. That will all be able to be captured right in the system. So going back to the process that I would be at, I've downloaded a copy. Whether I've decided to go back and forth and redlining it, I have the ability over here, there's an upload button to upload a new version. But let's just assume we have the latest version back in DealHub. One of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to see what changes were actually made. So I'm just going to highlight the version that I want. And by clicking this proposal changes button, it's actually going to show me the individual changes that have occurred. Should show me. Of course, we're on a live demo, so it's not going to do that. But okay. Let's just close this and give it another try. Nope, doesn't want to do that. Let's go back and take a step and try this again. Okay, and let's go look at our. And of course, oh, there we go. No, of course it doesn't want to do that. We'll come back. I have it showing in another section in a moment. We'll take a look at that. Oh, there we go. There it's popped up. Decided. Great. So it's giving me the ability to see what are the changes. So we can see the 30-day payment terms have changed to 60 days, or the annual upfront. This example wasn't the example I just went through. This was already in the version we uploaded. We changed from annual to quarterly. So this is structured information. We'll actually be able to, now it wants to reset my page as I did that, of course. So that's actual structured data that we can see of information that has changed in the process. And we'll come back to that in a second. That's actual information that's changed in the process. And I'll be able to sync that back to the CRM. So you will be able to see the changes that were made between the two different versions. I'm going to show that in a different mode in a minute. As a legal person, I'll be able to go through that process. Maybe we'll come, let's see if it'll let us come back and take a look at that again. But okay, we saw that. Also, one more option we can do. We also may want to compare the two versions that we have. And again, this is going to give me, okay, we're not having a good time with our demo that worked all perfectly right before we started off the process. So I'll show that in another mode in just a moment. So we have the ability to go compare those two different versions. Let's go jump over now and take a look at the repository, and we'll actually see those same functionality as well as a legal person. So I'll actually be able to see the comparison of those two versions. Just before I jump over here, this is the legal environment over here. As you can see, I've got different tabs up at the top. Let me just go back a step because I want to show you as a salesperson, this is a new look and feel for anybody that hasn't had a look yet at DealHub's new look and feel. Hopefully we still got our internet connection because it seems like it's slowed down over here. So we'll come back and show you our new look and feel. It's not, things aren't happening as they should in our demo environment. We'll come back to that for those on the salesperson. Basically, this is a new environment we refer to as DealHub 2.0, which gives us the ability from a salesperson to look at all the different accounts or proposals that I'm working on. And the extension of that will be for legal, that I have a contracts tab. And that's going to give me the ability to go look at all the different contracts that I'm working on. So I'm now changed roles. I'm now the legal counsel for the organization. I've come into the contract repository and I've got my dashboard. And I've got various capabilities to filter through different kinds of contracts that I may want to look at. So I've got up here my recent contracts. I can look at my favorites that I've set up. I can define those, or things that were assigned to me, or contracts that were in ongoing revisions. Or you can set up your own filters. I might want to set filters of contracts that changed in the last 24 hours. So I come in first thing in the morning and I have the ability to go and dive in, look at all the contracts that are assigned to me, that are new to assigned to me in the last day, or new contracts that came in. And then I've got my basically to-do list of the contracts that I need to go through. What I may also want to do is go take a look at contracts on a specific customer. So I've clicked on this customer down at the bottom over here, and I'm getting a list of all the different contracts that are available for me. Now that view is a little bit too confusing for me because some of these are general contracts that I have with the customer, and some are specific for the opportunity, the deal that I'm working on. So I'm going to come up to the filter, and let's group that in a different way so I can see the general account level contracts that I have. And I also have some opportunity specific contracts. And again, you can set up these filters as you want. I'm just showing you one sort of situation that we could go through. But basically, filters can be pre-assigned by the admin team, or they can also be set individually. So you can go and make different selections in your filters. Now, I did talk about that it's a general repository, so we can have contracts automatically populated here as we went through the process through DealHub and had those contracts signed off. They'll automatically populate into the repository, but I also have the ability to go upload additional contracts. If you'll notice here, I've got two options. I've got DealBox and contract revisions. DealBox, if you recall, when I showed in the deal room, we had the ability, as we were going through our sales process, we could upload additional documents. So that's where I could pull it through, or maybe it's already in my file manager. So let me just go drag and drop a document over there. It's going to upload into the repository. And then I may want to set a few settings, like who it's assigned to. Maybe I'll automatically assign it to somebody else. Or I want to say, is it going to the contract level or the opportunity level? And I may want to also go and set some tags over here as well. The tags obviously can be used for searching. We'll talk about searching and more advanced searching in just a moment. But tags are a way that can help us to go and search for those. So I can go and add that contract in. Please don't go searching for it. This is just a mock-up, so it didn't actually populate it here, just to give you an example of what can actually be done. So basically, I can upload any kind of contracts that I need into my repository. Here, I've assigned it right into the account. Other functionality that we may want to go and utilize is get some details about the solution about the contract, or maybe even open up a preview of the document. So I can preview the document that I'm working on, and then maybe dive in a little deeper and get some more detailed information about the specific contract. So some of those details we saw a moment ago when I uploaded it. Who's it owned by? Obviously things like creation date, any comments that we provided. So if I want people to see any information about that, I can put some comments in. We can see the tags that we're assigned to, and of course, add additional tags. Tags are free text tags, so really have the ability to set these up exactly how you need them. AI Insights, as I talked about, that will come out shortly after in the new year. AI can basically go take a look at the contract, give us a summary of that contract, and actually pull essential insights directly out of that, whether that's the effective date, expiration dates, jurisdictions here we see of Florida, or any other kind of insights that you want. Maybe you have liability and you want that to go search for what liability you have in there. So you'll be able to set different insights that you want to have it go search for, and it'll be able to pull out that information and present it over here at the document level. And the next tab I have over here is revisions, which we saw or tried to see a moment ago, some of it in the deal room. We'll make this available for the legal people right from the dashboard. So you won't have to actually do that from the deal room where it's available as well. And you can decide if you want it there or if you want it directly just in the dashboard. Same idea here. I can go look at a specific contract and see the changes that occurred. So any changes that were made by the buyer side, I can compare that to the original, or I can go take a look at two different contracts and again, do that comparison and see the differences between the two different sides. So I can see where indications of where changes were made and a summary on the side here as well, telling me what those changes actually were. I'm the legal member. Once I'm happy with that, I can set that as approved to sign. That's basically the workflow that we allow. It's now assigned that it's valid for the e-signature, and the e-signature that was on the deal room is now basically enabled so they can go and sign off on that agreement. What we'll also add is the ability to do more advanced AI insights. So basically we can have the AI go and search, learn your contracts, and search for risky content that's in there, risky clauses or information that's been put in there, and actually recommend some languages as well. So that'll be an enhancement as well to the AI that you'll be able to go and understand more about your contracts, any risks that you have, and any contract or term changes that you can actually go and make to that will be available. Jumping back out to my repository, or my dashboard. So at the top, I have additional options available. I may want to go and share that with another team member. So within my group, I can go and share that and have that passed over, and that'll appear obviously within a filter that can have of content documents that were shared with me. You of course want to maybe download a copy of it, open it in the deal room, see it in the deal room, archive an agreement, which will simply take it off the screen so it'll clean up my screen a little bit, or favorite or delete it. Delete it will actually delete it, but will actually give you a pause in time. It'll basically go into a trash bin and you'll set 30, 60 days, whatever it is that you define. And at that point, it will actually fully delete it from that. So you will have the ability to recall that at any time. The last function now that I did want to talk about is just one more step in the AI. And this is I refer to also in the searching. So while you'll be able to search for documents through tags, you'll also be able to use AI to go and search for contracts. So just like you would type in ChatGPT, in this case, it says, show me a summary of all the high value contracts, or maybe show me all the contracts where I have liability over $2-3 million, whatever is for you. You'll type it in free text. And basically by entering this query, DealHub will go and search through the repository, and this will be across the board or a search within specific accounts, obviously, and we'll give you that list of the contracts that you need to go view. And then of course you can dive into those and take any actions that you need on that. So lots of AI capabilities that will come out. So just to summarize on the contract repository section that we talked about, you'll be able to keep track of all the different contracts that you're working on, filter through, take a look at different accounts, go through and see them in different ways, obviously upload additional documents, view the documents, run some analysis on it, AI analysis to go and get details about it, control the revisioning process that you have over here, making sure you're happy with those revisions, making it available for e-signature, and of course, sharing with other people, viewing it, and the ability to go run some AI searches as well. So you'll be able to look at that. So with that, I basically summed up what I wanted to go and show here. Basically, I'm going to open it up now for questions. We'll try to get questions maybe for about 5-10 minutes because we don't want to hold two people for too long. I'll try to go through some of the questions. I do see there's quite a few. We'll go through that. And then I'll talk to you quickly before we end off about the special offer that we have for you. So I've got a question here. Colin said, asked us, did I see the correctly where legal agreements was actually set up in its own playbook instead of in a playbook? This is interesting. Yes, Colin, as I showed, you could have a separate playbook or it could be part of the same playbook. We could even have an individual playbook that basically asks a question, are you building out a contract today or are you building out a quote in a contract? There's really a number of different ways. For my demo environment, I just set it up today as a separate playbook, but that's something that you'll have the flexibility to go and do. Grace just asked, I see all the variable inputs are showing in yellow in the client facing. Obviously not in an actual document. I've done that just for the demo environment to go and show that those things actually changed. You would not have to do that, or you would not do that in a real life environment. We're not going to change that. Let me just see here what other questions we have. Can the repository be used for other contracts? I was asked earlier. Yes, I covered that. Obviously, it can be done that. Is there tagging? So for example, legal team can search for contracts in New York law. Obviously, that's through the AI search capability. You'll be able to go and do a search. You may tag things by New York, or you may want to use the AI search, and the AI search will then go in and take a look, find me all the contracts that are based off of New York law, and that's what the AI search will allow you to do. I think there's some other questions on the highlighting. Hopefully, I've covered that for those that asked that. Will these additional documents be appended to the MSA? I'm assuming that question obviously was asked a few minutes ago. I'm assuming that's when I talked about appending additional documents. So basically, the ability to append additional documents in the deal room. Remember, we edited our one document. That's our original that we started with. We can append any other documents, and you can actually set the order. Those that will come in today were set up to add those in at the end of the agreement, but you can add in additional documents. It won't be part of the MSA per se. That'll be seen as one section. You'll have another page break, and then you'll see the additional documents that are added in when you're appending additional documents. Will there be a mass load upload capability into the repository? We are working on a utility that will allow you to do that. The one thing you will have to realize is you will have to do some cleansing. I don't think you're going to want to go and just upload every single contract. And because we have the ability to add a lot of metadata, a lot of attributes that we saw when you're uploading that, so that'll be things, again, you'll want to cleanse, and that'll have to be set up in the utility. That will have more details just as we get close to release date at the end of the year, at the end of December, and we'll provide more information about that. But as I'll recommend in a moment, be in touch with your customer success manager, and as more information is available on how that utility works, we'll be happy to share that, that information. There's a question, how is your contract repository linked to the customer company in the CRM or to a deal? So as I showed in the repository, you're going to have it broken out by, it's actually broken out at an account level. You can view all contracts or through the different filters that you have, and you will be able to look at it through specific companies, or you'll be able to dive in and look at that at an opportunity level again, and you'll be able to set filters of your own. So I showed some of the screens because those are the filters that were built for my display today. You'll be able to go and build out your additional filters that you want to include. Let me just go through some other ones here. Will the AI feature suggest contractual change in language? That is one of the things I showed that we do want to add in. It won't be in the initial AI release, right? In the first release, we're going to have a couple releases. We're adding a whole host of new capabilities that we'll be adding, but definitely we'll have that ability to go suggest recommendations where we see risk and other aspects of contractual changes and might want to use the AI to go do. And obviously AI, as we're familiar, is going to learn from your contracts, and that will be a learning process. Obviously, if you upload a lot of contracts, the system will learn much quicker, and we'll be able to go and learn what kind of contract or what language is relevant for you. Let me see what else we have here. Implementation process, how long is that? It's not, well, typically, again, if we're doing a contract or as part of a quote in a contract, DealHub projects, take from just a few weeks, maybe a couple months, depending on the depth and the level of functionality that you want. Setting up the contract repository actually is not going to be very long at all. We're talking probably in days or weeks, depending on how much we're going to have to be uploading or filtering that you want our assistance with, or later on do that. So it's a very quick process to go and set up that repository, if that was the question specifically. We have time for one more question. Let me just go see what we've got over here. Will we be able to disable the AI suggested changes for contractual language? Of course. Obviously, anything that we provided here, like all functionality that we provide with DealHub, we always make it in a modular way that you can turn on and off functions, you can turn off capabilities. Some of these might be done by role-based access rights as well, so certain legal people will be able to make certain kind of changes, maybe utilize AI or not utilize AI. And of course, even that whole repository, you'll be able to decide who sees that, mostly focused on legal or contractual folks. But again, you'll be able to go set the access rights for those specific users. One more last question. I just popped in, so we'll take the one last question. Can we handle terms and conditions in different languages? Basically, DealHub can be set up. The playbook, the documents that we generated can all be set up in different languages. Obviously, you do have to set up the contract templates for those specific languages, so you can set those up as well. So if you're selling in different territories, obviously a lot more setup that has to be done to allow for those different changes in the different languages, but that is something I would recommend. Speak to your customer success manager. They can provide you some more details on that capability. So with that, let me just take the last couple minutes, because I know people will probably drop off in a second, talk about our early bird promotion that we have. As I mentioned, a lot of the CLM function that I talked about is already available today, the contract repository, and then the AI analysis. So first, the contract repository will be available at the end of the year, end of December, and then early after that, in the new year, we'll have the AI. Anybody that wants to sign up early now by the 31st of October, we're going to be offering a 50% discount on the subscription, which will actually be locked off for 3 years. So the standard price for the CLM, expanded CLM, is $40 per user per month. So that's a $20 per user per month. That's obviously any user of the system, meaning like your salespeople and any administrators or other users that you have on the system. It's a per user subscription. So you'll get a 50% reduction. You'll lock that price off for 3 years, and we'll also give you free onboarding as well if you sign up before the 31st. Obviously, your subscription will only start in January once the system is fully available. We're not going to start that before that. So you're actually going to have that delayed start, and you'll get that discount signing now. If you do have any questions, 2 methods you can get more information. Either reach out to your customer success manager or send us an email at clm@dealhub.io. We'll be happy to get back to you, answer any questions, further questions that you have. We'll look through the questions as well, and we'll look at who answered those. If we have your names, we'll try to get back to you as well and answer your questions. I apologize we didn't get through everything. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time today. Hopefully this was of value to you, and we'll look forward to teaching you more about DealHub CLM. Thank you so much.